this is Khrista. I'm a journalist at Global Girlhood, and today we're going to be interviewing Mariel Calara. She is 20 years old. She is from Harlingen, Texas, currently in Austin, Texas, and she identifies as Filipino American. And here she is.
Hello, I'm Mariel, and I guess if I were to describe myself in one sentence, it's so difficult. I think I would describe myself as someone who can't describe themselves in one sentence. And I think part of that is just because I'm still figuring myself out, as most people, all the time. And I don't know.
These questions are about being a woman. So tell me about your childhood and what it was like being a woman in your childhood town.
I don't think I've thought that much about what it's like to be a woman in my childhood. Or a girl in that case, I don't know. But, I mean, I think when puberty hits and you start, growing boobs and your period starts, I think when your period starts, that's when you kind of realize you're not the same as the boys. And I think, growing up, my mom would have to tell me to do certain things that I think, I guess women have been conditioned to do, which is probably not fair. Kind of think a little bit more about how you dress, think about your surroundings, think about how you conduct yourself if you're sitting with your legs closed and open. I think I had to think about that more in my childhood, but I don't know if I've thought about it a whole lot compared to how much I think about it now. But I do think that I always wondered what's I mean, identity is such an important part to people, and I feel in my childhood or even now, it's just is the first thing people see Asian woman, what's the first two words that people think of. So it's a big part of my identity, and but it isn't that big when I was growing up, or maybe I just wasn't aware of it growing up when I am now.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's interesting to look at it from a cultural perspective, as you were saying as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Next, can you think of a time you felt particularly aware of your gender and how it led you to be treated? I guess as you were growing up, maybe it kind of hit you I'm different as a woman compared to other boy classmates or something.
I mean, I think it was when my boobs came in. This doesn't have to be recorded, but or you can just keep it, but don't. But it was I remember I would cup myself,
mm-hmm.
or I would feel my boobs, or you can include this, I don't really care. When I just growing up, I would feel them get bigger, and I thought that was kind of scary and weird, or just exploring my body for the first time. And then when I had my period for the first time, I was really scared, and I think most people would be if they found blood in their underwear. And I don't know, I was really aware then that I was not the same, that I was a female. And I think I also relied heavily on my mom and my sister to explain what was going on, and to cope with just understanding all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. It's weird going through puberty and going through all that intense stuff when guys don't have those sort of cornerstones or markers in their life to be ooh, I'm a man now. Maybe they do, it's more symbolic, but for us it's symbolic and also very scary and physical and strange.
Yeah. True.
Mm-hmm. These questions are about your passion and your work. What is your proudest accomplishment? It does not have to be limited to your professional accomplishments.
I think how far I came with my Rome team, with my research project, I don't know if this is a lame answer, if I should have, like, a deep answer.
It's fine.
But we had just worked really hard to put together a research project in Rome this past summer, but that didn't happen because of the pandemic. But it was just, like, constant resilience, because we had, prepared, like, 40 pages, and then we got to the next round, and then we had to turn those 40 pages into 4 minutes, and then we didn't get accepted, but then we decided we're gonna fundraise anyway, and we had no idea what we were getting into, like, asking all of the people we knew for money, but then doing that and, like, applying for scholarships, we ended up raising over, like, $15,000, and so, like, numerically, it's quantifiable. It's like, yeah, like, you did it, like, you raised the money and stuff. But I think my proudest accomplishment is just, like, the personal growth throughout all of that, because I just grew alongside my teammates who I had to depend on and trust now, and it just taught me a lot about myself and gave me a little bit more confidence about what, like, I can do. And so, I don't know, it's not very tied to being a woman, but I think any moment when you realize that you have more potential, or that you're able to reach your potential, or that you're able to do what you've probably always doubted you could never do, are powerful moments, and that was one for me.
Yeah, for sure. I remember watching you go through all of that, and it seemed like a lot of work and a lot of dedication and a lot of love put into something that you're super passionate about. So I guess this question is also related to your answer right now. What led you to achieve this? I guess, like, what drove you, you and your whole group, to continue to pursue this project?
I think, like, there were a lot of reasons. Part of it was just because we had put in so much energy, so it would feel kind of like a waste to stop doing it, or, like, I don't know, that's, like, part of it. I think my teammates also have just, like, working with them has really motivated me, and, like, working with others is empowering in its own way, because you kind of want to prove to them, and as well as prove to yourself that you can do it. And it's just, like, it hit on so many different aspects. Like, it's, like, part of it is just, like, you put in so much work and you want to see it come through. Part of it is your teammates. Part of it is just, like, your genuine interest in the project, and, like, my interest in, like, all things Italian. Like, I wanted to be able to go to Rome and impact these, like, grassroots communities tackling the waste crisis. Like, that'd be so cool and fulfilling. And so it's multifaceted why I was motivated.
Okay, so next we're moving on to questions about your story of empowerment. So it's a good lead in. So who taught you the importance of empowerment, and how did it affect your life?
I think my older sister is the first person that taught me about empowerment. Part of that is because she is like going, when she taught me, she was, like, applying to, like, I don't know, she had, like, a bad MCAT grade, or, like, she was in the midst of just, like, medical school applications and, like, after college, and so she was, like, going through a transitioning period herself. And I remember I was kind of just, like, going into college, I think, is, like, the moment that I realized that my sister is the person that's been, like, my number one fan growing up, and believed in me, and, like, I was scared to do things as a freshman, or and also as a sophomore. Like, I was scared to intern or to put myself out there and to do things that were really uncomfortable. But knowing that my sister believed in me kind of, like, and also just, like, pushed me out there and to made me feel uncomfortable, because there are rewards to reap when you do that, and you grow when you do that. It was probably the first time that I felt really empowered. And I feel like I owe her a lot for teaching me that, but really I just try to continue to work hard, and I think that's the best way to be grateful for what she showed me and for believing in me.
Nice. Next question. How do you empower yourself?
That's a good question. I ask myself that every day. Every moment. I think lately, just the importance of breaks, self-care.
Ooh, important.
Is so important, and self-compassion is so important, because like we all work really hard all the time, but you only have so much like mental energy and so much like fuel, and it's like really easy to burn out. And so in order to like stay alive and to function, you have to know how to like empower, like to keep running, but also to empower yourself, to motivate yourself, to inspire yourself to keep going. And so I think I empower myself by like being reflective and taking breaks and realizing again like what all of this is for, and enjoying the present, because it's really easy to like get caught up in things and to just forget like just like working so hard, and just like, oh my god, it's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, that it's hard to just like stop and enjoy what's happening around you and to realize like what this is all for again. And so I think like taking breaks and being reflective is one of the most important ways that I empower myself, because you need to step back from all of the stuff that you're doing in order to appreciate it sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like if you don't take breaks, it's going to lead to burnout, and like if you avoid like taking those breaks, your work isn't gonna be as great as it could have been if you had taken them. I feel like that applies a lot if you continually put yourself in like this relentless work mode, that I feel like it just takes away from the products of your work. Yeah, for sure.
It's hard though.
Yeah. How do you empower others?
It's a good question. I think I'm big on like empathy and listening. And so like, I don't know, I think I also like learned this from being like a mentor. Like you don't want to just like do everything for someone. Like you have to let them like achieve it for themselves. And so I think being aware of like the kind of support that you can give someone, and then like when they're, when times are hard for them, I tend to be the person that will just like listen and hear them out and validate them. And then also just like maybe like the same way that I empower myself, like sitting and listening and like reflecting and thinking about everything and why it's important, I just like hope to also be like a good listener and empathetic in what they're going through, and also just like encouraging, because like I know that when I'm struggling, the hardest person that is like wait, I don't know if I'm saying this right. When I'm struggling, it's like I'm hardest on myself. And so I don't think like I can imagine like the turmoil that inner turmoil that people feel. And so I just like want them to know that I'm there for them, and also that like what they've been doing so far has been inspiring to me, and so that they should just like keep doing what they're doing. Like it's all worth it. It's all gonna work out. And just like being there is one of the biggest things you can do for people, because that's about it.
Yeah, makes sense. Good answer. Do you have any advice for girls who are also trying to empower themselves? I think that kind of bleeds into this previous question.
For girls or for women or whatever? It's hard to be a powerhouse woman in a society that's dominated by men, and especially in certain industries, in certain workplaces. But I think something that I've always tried to think about, and the way I conduct myself as a woman and just like live as a woman and feel empowered as a woman is like trying to not apologize all the time, and trying to say like instead of saying like sorry for being late, and say like thank you for being flexible as I like work through stuff. And I just think that like female leaders are powerful, and I enjoy the people that like the people that have mentored me and have led me and that are women. And so I think it's just like you owe it to yourself to believe in yourself. And like everyone's human, so like people will make mistakes, but you don't always have to like apologize for them. Like sometimes it's just like okay, and you don't need to apologize all the time. And yeah, that's about it.
Why do you enjoy and appreciate being a woman?
Can I say because men are so frustrating? I feel like there are scientific studies that say women are more empathetic, and like I say empathetic a lot, but like more understanding. I don't know, it's like I couldn't imagine myself to be a man or anything. Like I really enjoy being a woman and being me and surrounding myself with other like inspiring women and like learning and hearing about what other women have done. Like it's just a feel good moment.
Yeah. Do you enjoy breaking like barriers as a woman? Because sometimes, like especially as you were saying, in different industries like the advertising and PR industry, sometimes women aren't always allotted like the same like pay, or like they're not looked to for certain insights or perspectives that are unique.
I mean, it's probably really hard to be that first person to break the barrier, so I really say kudos to the women before me that have done it. Like AOC is one, and then like Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, but she's like one too, and it's inspiring to the women that do break the barriers. But like I can imagine that like I'd love to be able to break the barrier too for the women that I can help that come after me or like alongside me. For sure, it's really rewarding to be recognized for your like hard work and to be recognized as like a leader or someone that's like capable of breaking barriers, and not just that but like thriving. So I hope to be able to do that one day. And yeah, I don't know, I just can't really picture not being a woman, and I love it so much despite the cramps.
Yeah, makes sense. So our last question, let's gonna do this one. Is there anything you'd like us to know so we can share it with the global girlhood community specifically? Just like along the lines of like women empowerment, advice about navigating through difficult like social or work settings, like if there are girls out there who are feeling scared about as you were saying, like breaking the barrier or like taking risks. Maybe they're afraid because we live in such a male dominated society. Do you have any advice about like stepping out of your comfort zone maybe as a woman?
I think one of the best ways, if you're like, whenever I feel scared, sometimes I just feel scared because I feel unprepared or I don't know that much about the subject. So I think like what's been helpful for me is getting educated. It's not the most like active, confrontational way to do things, but it's like a way to just like, really inform your perspective and your view on things. And so like entering, like right now I'm so aware about my identity and stuff because like I'm in college and I feel like I'm taking classes and I'm reading things and I'm slowly understanding how women are actually treated in the workplace and things. And so like for girls that are feeling like scared and apprehensive about like what's going on, like there are stories and research out there on like women who have been able to break past those barriers, and like best practices and advice, and like research on like how much the, I don't know, gender wage gap is, or gender gap in wage or something. And like I think one of the most strategic ways of not feeling scared anymore is to just like get educated and consume as much as you can about what it is like to be a woman in this world, in this country. And then I think, you know, just as it is important to get knowledge and awareness on other things, like when you're informed, you can like take action and preach.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that was our last question. Thanks for interviewing with us.
Thank you.